Brave Nurse B. Thanks for coming back to my channel. If you're new to my channel, consider subscribing. I have this series called You Can Be a Nurse. Why? Because you can be a nurse, you can achieve your goals, and I'm going to do my best to help you all to get there. So today I want to talk about why you should become a nurse, like what's some of the benefits and just all that good stuff, the good things about being a nurse. So let's get right into it. The demand. We all know that the demand for nurses is huge. Like, there's such a huge nursing shortage. Like, they need nurses so bad to the point where you're always gonna have a job. There's always gonna be sick people. It's always gonna be people who have accidents, who have, you know, who are dying, who are gonna need some type of health care. There's always people gonna be born. There's gonna be people like coming into this earth. So they're always gonna need healthcare providers and always gonna need nurses to take care of them. So there's a huge demand. So you don't have to worry about whether or not you're gonna get a job as a nurse. You're going to get a job no matter where you live in the world. You're gonna get a job as a nurse, I would think. I mean, I guess I can't say anywhere in the world, but there's a huge demand. So that's number one. Number two, the pay. It's a good way to be able to provide for your family. Now, I won't say that, like, going into nursing, like, you're gonna be rich. Like, definitely not. Like, but you are gonna get paid a nice amount of money. Even starting off as an LPN, you get paid a decent amount of money, I believe, depending on what type of lifestyle you live. And then as an RN, you get even more. Like, usually LPNs, depending on what state you're in and what setting you're in, LPNs usually get, it starts around, I would say, $17.50 to about $21 plus, depending on where you're going, just starting off. And then, of course, you know, RNs, it's more, and then it goes more and more with your BSN. And of course, we know nurse practitioners, they're bringing in 70 to 5,000 to like 100,000 plus a year, depending on the state that they're in. So there's definitely money in it, and there's always guaranteed, always overtime. You don't have to worry about whether or not you're gonna get some time to work, or if you're gonna have hours, or if you want to go on a trip or pay for this for your kids to get this done. If you're gonna be able to find the hours to work, they're gonna need you. If that particular facility doesn't need you, you can do staffing and you can work somewhere else and get paid. And staffing, you get paid even more money when you work like through agencies. So that's that. The pay is there. Number three is that they help with most jobs. If you've been there for about a year, they're gonna help with your schooling. So hospitals, nursing homes, I know those two. I'm not sure about like doctor's offices because they're smaller, but usually bigger institutions, they're gonna help you with school. You probably have to be there for a year. Some jobs that will require you to, like, if they give you like say $5,000 towards school after you work for a year, you have to at least give them like 2 years of employment, something like that. But it's a great option. It's not a lot of careers you can go into where your job is going to help you to advance your career or to help you to start your career. Because even as a CNA, I was able to get help paying for school for my LPN while I worked at a nursing home. So that's a huge benefit. Also, depending on if you live like in a rural area or if you work in a very need-based area where they really need nurses, you can get help with student loans, like student loan forgiveness, based off certain areas that you work. So that's something to look into too, because you're gonna get paid good money, but if somebody's gonna help you pay for school, that's gonna be good too. Because even if you go to a school and get your bachelor's as a nurse, the school might cost you $90,000 plus, depending on the school you go to. You think, okay, I'm gonna be able to make the money when I get out, but sometimes you have to pay like $600, $700, $800 a month just to pay back those student loans. And you're like, dang, like, and I just started, like, how the heck am I gonna pay for this? At least the job you're at is gonna help pay for that. So that's definitely a huge benefit as to becoming a nurse. Three is that there's a lot of specialties. That's one of the biggest things I looked at in nursing, because I first decided that I wanted to do become a registered dietitian. But then I was like, you know, I would have more, because I'm very much so into nutrition and all that good stuff. But I was like, there's more flexibility in nursing, because I could work with nutrition, diabetes. You could do specialties in oncology or cancer. You can do it in, you can have a specialty in radiology. You can have a specialty in cardiac, neuro, GI, OBGYN, you can work with OBGYN, maternal health, pediatrics, geriatrics. There's like over 100 different specialties in nursing. Like, even if you don't want to work with people, you can still become a nurse. You can become do research as a nurse. There's something called evidence-based practice, and basically what it is nurses or people in this field, scientists, what they do is they conduct these studies to see what is going to cause, like what causes diseases, or how do we prevent diseases, and they consider it evidence-based practice. For example, washing your hands, like as far as how long you should wash your hands, and like actually the friction that it takes, and using soap and using hot water, and not touching the knob with your hand, using a paper towel to turn off the knob. All that comes from evidence-based practice, because some scientist or some nurse, someone in the healthcare field conducted this study and saw, okay, what's the best way to kill bacteria on your hand? What's the best way to get your hands clean? And they went through all these series of studies to see what the best way was. And evidence-based practice showed that you should do X, Y, and Z to try to get your hands as clean as possible. So you don't have to work with people if you don't want to as a nurse. You can become a case manager, where you basically look at a person's it's a lot to it. I don't know a lot about it, but you look at that person's, like, their history and what they got going on, and you figure out what's best for them as far as certain things, whatever. I know somebody that does insurance from his home, a nurse that I know. He works for an insurance company, and he just basically figures out if that person's illness or disease or whatever is going on with them is appropriate for them to get approved for the insurance company to pay for it. So that's an important job, and it's very, like he told me, it's like stressful. Even if you work from home, it's stressful. So you don't have to work with people if you don't want to as a nurse, but you can still help people. Because I understand some people, they don't like that one-on-one, like, clinical aspect of having to be with patients every single day, being with family members, being with doctors. They want to still help, and they still are interested in the field, and they want to have the benefits of the field, but they don't necessarily want to deal with people. And as a nurse, you don't always have to deal with people, so that's always a great thing. And if you go into it, like right now, I'm a geriatric nurse. I eventually want to become an ER nurse. Once I become an ER nurse, I might be like, you know what, I want to become, I want to specialize in, I don't know, ICU, or I want to become a cardiac nurse, or I decide that, you know what, I want to take a break and I want to go teach. I want to go teach future LPNs out there, like, that might come. It's so many things. Like, it's such a beautiful, like, career, and you always will have a job. You're gonna make money, and you're gonna be happy. So that's that. And that's another thing. If you get tired of one area of life, or you get tired of dealing with one group of people, or one setting and environment, you can move on, because there's so many specialties and there's so much flexibility in nursing. So the next thing I would say, which is number 5, is travel. There's the opportunity for you to become a travel nurse, and they get paid more money. And also there's, it kind of spices up a few things. You don't have to always stay and work with that one group of people or that one institution. You can move on. If you don't like that area, you might be there for a month or two and move on. Also, when I say travel, is, say for instance, you and your family, you all live in Washington, D.C., and your husband or whatever, or your wife gets a job somewhere else, or you decide you want to live in Florida, boom, you can go travel anywhere in the U.S. and be a nurse. And there's some people I know who come from other countries and come to the U.S. as nurses. There were nurses in their other country, and they had to just kind of, do all the paperwork or tests or whatever it takes to convert their license over to the U.S. But it's so much flexibility. You can travel with this career. Such a beautiful career. Oh my gosh, like, there's so much job security. So that's another thing to think about. Also, it's really rewarding to know that you're helping somebody in their life. And I know a lot of people say, like, I go into nursing because I just want to help people, but, like, you really are, like, you're helping somebody, even if it's something so small. So let me tell you this story. The other day I was at work, and I had this resident. She's like the type that she's cool for a second, and then, like, one little thing, like, will make her tick, and she'll, like, go clean off on you. She'll be screaming, she'll be fighting, she'll be clawing at you, like, she'll be throwing stuff. So it's like you have to be really delicate with her. And I had walked past her. I was like, oh my gosh, I gotta take her to the bathroom. And I knew she could stand up, so I was like, let me take her to the bathroom. I was like, okay, let's go to the bathroom, you know. She's like, what? I was like, let's just try to see if we gotta use the restroom, you know. Let's try to see. So I was like real gentle with her, took her in the bathroom. She stood up for me. I was so happy. Like, oh, thank you, Jesus. This lady stood up. Got her on the toilet. I'm trying to take off her pants, change her pants and everything. She's like, what are you doing? I said, I'm gonna give you some really nice, clean, warm, dry pants you can wear. And she's like, okay. And she let me do all that. She let me get her clean, get everything off of her, wash her. And she stood up. When I said this lady had the hugest BM, this is getting somewhere. I know it sounds random, but she had the hugest freaking BM in the toilet. I was so happy for her. I know it's random, y'all, but when you become a nurse, you know what I mean. Like, I was like, oh my gosh, she pooped. Like, especially when you work with the elderly, like, constipation is a real problem. And a lot of times, some patients, they're not able to verbalize to you that they have to go to the restroom, or that they're wet, or that they feel the urge to go. So instead of them speaking it, like, they act it out, and they have these behaviors that are like intense. That's why I said this lady, sometimes she clicks. And it usually happens in the evening, and it happens almost every time I go over there and work with her. But she went to the bathroom, the huge, I was so happy, like, oh, I know she feels so relieved. Even if she can't tell me, she feel relieved. Like, I know she's going to be able to eat something later, and she's going to be comfortable because she got this poop out. Like, oh my gosh. See, to me, that was rewarding. Like, I was like, okay, I did my good deed for the day. I was a good nurse today. I cleaned my resident up, took her to the bathroom. She pooped. She's good for the night until she lays down and she gets cleaned up again. Like, it's so weird, but just some of the small things, the human interactions that you come across, they are rewarding, just to know that, because that's what we're here on this earth to do. We're here to help each other. God put us all here to communicate with one another, to help each other, to guide each other through this thing called life. And if you can be a part of that for somebody, that is truly rewarding, to be able to touch somebody's life and to help them. Even if you realize that maybe you think, oh, I'm not doing anything, like, just your presence sometimes for people is a huge difference. And even if you might not feel it, that person might be like, man, like, I'm just so glad such and such is working today, such and such is here today. Like, it's just so rewarding to know that you connect with human beings during a time in their life when they might need you the most. Or even if it's happy medicine, you know, even if they're getting plastic surgery and they're really happy, like, you're there with them to, you know, when they're happy because they got a nice boob job or whatever the case may be. Like, just to be with somebody in the most vulnerable or the most exposed time of their life, for you to be there for them, it's extremely rewarding. Extremely rewarding. It keeps you human. It really does. So I think that's probably the most important thing that I would say, the most important benefit of being a nurse, is it keeps you human, makes you have compassion, it makes you have integrity, and you just value life so much more. You see things so differently. I'm gonna cry. But yeah, it's such a rewarding career. Even on them bad days, you know, I just think about that poop. She pooped for me. I'm so happy. And number 7 is that it is actually a respected career. Usually when you tell somebody you're a nurse, they're like, oh, you're a nurse, like, that's really cool. People start to trust you, you know, and that can become like a crazy thing, because somebody's always calling you like, what is this, or what is that, or what type of medicine should I take for this, and da 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 da. So you kind of become like a help for your family and your friends. And it, like I said, it's a very respected career. Most people really trust nurses because of the position that you're in. They trust you to keep their confidentiality, to be there for them, and to take care of them. And they trust what you're telling them. You got some people out there that pull out that WebMD and be like, no, nurse, you're wrong. But for the most part, it's a respected and trustworthy career to be in. And then for last thing I would say, just looking forward in life, like, it creates an easier transition into retirement when you become a nurse. So I have this charge nurse. Well, she was a charge nurse when she first came to the job. And she said that the opportunity came for her to do MDS, which is minimum data set, whatever. Basically, they do like, they take, I don't even know what they do. But from what I see, like, you go through all the patient's charts, all their information, make sure everything is cohesive, make sure everything kind of fits into place, and you put it into this system on a computer. I don't know. I'm not I don't know that specialty, but anywho, it requires way less physical work on you as a nurse. And I just asked her one day, because I was thinking about this video, and I said, like, and she's like, I think she may be in her 70s, and she was like, you know, I asked her, like, do you think that you would have been a charge nurse for this long? Do you feel like that you would have kept doing it? She was like, to be honest, like, if I would have never took on this position, I could not see myself still being a charge nurse. She said, I probably am able to still work for so long is because I took on this position. I was like, you know what, that's awesome that this is a career where, like I said, with us having different specialties and different environments you can work in as a nurse, when you get to that point where you feel like this is taking on too much of my body, I can't take it, I don't have the patience to deal with patients or families or CNAs or people under me or dealing with management, I don't have the energy for that right now. You can move on into a different sector of it where you're still a nurse, but you're coming at it from a different angle, and I think that's so awesome. Even if you get to the point in life where you feel like, you know, I want to give back, you can become a nurse educator, you can be a clinical instructor, or you can be an instructor in the classroom. I've talked to a lot of nurse practitioners that do that. They teach, and also even if as a bachelor's nurse, you can still teach LPN. So I think I might do that at some point in my life. But anywho, I think I do want to teach at some point in my life. But yeah, like, there's just, when it comes to that point, you'll be able to ease your way into retirement versus some jobs like CNA. I know I think the oldest CNA, I think she was like 72. She was so tired. She was like so broke down, and she would still come to work every night working, and I'd be like, I know this lady is tired. Or you just see older CNAs in general, and like their body is just worn out. Or younger CNAs, shoot, or younger nurses, like, or older nurses, you just be worn out physically and mentally, and you just be so done with it. But as a nurse, you don't have to always do the physical end of the job, and so that's the beauty of it. So those are my top 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. My top 8 reasons why you should become a nurse. I enjoy it. Right now I am an LPN. I work in long-term care. I really enjoy it. To me, I'm just starting out my career. I've been a nurse for 2 years, and I just see the beauty in it. It's just, I feel so blessed to have started this career. Even though I never wanted to be a nurse, I feel really blessed to be in this career, be in this field, and be able to help people. And it's just so rewarding. It's just such a good feeling. Even when you had those bad days, you just feel good about what you do. You feel good coming home knowing that you took care of somebody. Even if it was you just setting up their doctor's appointment. Like, you just, I don't know, it's just, it's a nurse thing. What can I say? So that's that. I hope that this kind of, if you were kind of like on the fence about whether or not you want to become a nurse or go to school, or if it's for you, I hope it kind of helps you to kind of nudge you into that direction, and kind of put some ideas in your mind. Or maybe if you're already a nurse and you're kind of like figuring out what you want to do, your next step, maybe you want to change careers, or you don't know if you want to still be a nurse. Hope this kind of helped you all. Like I said, if you're new to my channel, consider subscribing. I also have a second channel that I go over my hair and my current pregnancy. Let me show y'all the bump. Can barely see it. The bump. My current pregnancy, and then also it's like a lifestyle channel. It's Stay Forever True. You can check that out. Also, you can find me on Instagram under Finding Earth. And yeah, that's it. Thank you all so much for supporting my channel. I'm your fave Nurse B. Peace.